Well, you might be wondering why I'm sitting on the kitchen floor, and it's because I wanted to show you how I painted these cabinet doors behind me here. And they were a very lovely shade of yellow and plum. And I guess the last owners got the idea from the fireplace in the next room, because the block work or the brickwork around it had the occasional plum and yellow tile put in, but very, very pale. It took me a while before I actually saw the colour in it and actually realised that that's where they got it from, because it was that light. Anyway, I don't have the exact tools and the exact paint that I used, but I will insert images here of very similar products. So I used an etcher primer, and I actually brought half a pail, so about 2 litres, maybe it was even slightly more, off of a local, it's called Trade Me. I guess it's a bit like eBay, where you can buy products that are, you know, partly used or secondhand or even sometimes brand new. So I bought a pail of that, and then I used a roller very similar to this one, and I used a foam, so you can get all different sorts of fluffy rollers for them, and I used a foam one to get the very smooth effect, and it worked really well. I can show you up close what that looks like, and I was pretty happy with the finish. And I don't think, well, no, nobody's ever commented, and I'll explain the process that I used. So first I gave them a sand back with some fine sandpaper, and then I filled any dents and things with some builder's putty, and that sets really hard. I sanded that back, and then I added the etcher primer, rolled that on, and made sure I had no streaks, and I rolled both sides. So if I just turn around here, you can see I rolled both the inside and the outside. And then what I've just noticed, this door is actually being replaced, and I've got a feeling I did this whole side. So I did actually replace them, but if I turn around, this unit here is painted, and you can see from the inside where it's not actually perfect. I've done quite a kind of rough job on the inside. So you can see it's definitely 100% been painted, and it was obviously losing enthusiasm. No one has ever noticed that these doors have been painted, as opposed to the units here, which have actually been replaced, and me forgetting. Using the etcher primer, and you can see there that baseboard was actually plum. That was one of the plum ones, and I have obviously not used the etcher primer on it because there are chips on it. So it really did pay off using the etcher primer. Now, I did this kitchen about 10 years ago, and I painted all of this that you can see now. That cabinet was very purple, very, very plum, and so were the end panels. All the end panels are the original. I have not replaced any of them, just because it's too hard to get them off to replace them. So it's lasted really well, and they've had a hard time. They haven't, you know, they've had children in this house. So the process was that after preparing the doors and the end panels, sanding them and filling any dents and things in them, used the etcher primer, then I used an undercoat. I sanded between coats, and then I did 2 top coats. And I got a top coat that I knew would match the melamine colour that I was going to be using, because I extended the kitchen. The original was quite small, so I extended a whole nother pantry and about 5 or 6 units of drawers and cupboards along one wall. So yeah, and I feel like, you know, it's come up really well. And okay, that is the melamine, but this is painted, and it's lasted well, and I never replaced the pantry unit. The pantry unit is the original, and the oven unit and the drawer. So I feel like the whole thing came up really, really well, and it was such a budget makeover. And I was really nervous in the beginning about painting all of this, but I needn't have been, you know, it lasted so well and it's still fine. What isn't fine and that I want to do today is re-edge tape these cupboards. So you can see here that it is just peeling off, and I might have to spend some time scraping this back. So I've got a couple of rolls of edge tape. It was actually given when I bought the extra units because I knew the lady who was running the kitchen workshop. I've got an iron and I've got a cloth to put over the trim that I want to take off, the edging, and I've got a scraper. So I'm just going to reheat up that glue and see if I can get that off just nicely without too much effort. And if you've got any that's popping off that's actually in good condition, you can just heat it up with an iron, but yeah, you can heat it up and just push it back on. There we go. That popped off really well. That one there is actually on a join, so it's not too bad. It's in not too bad condition, that longer length. It's just mainly in this corner here, so as square as possible. So that will be our inside edge for here, and we don't worry about what's overhanging or where it lines up, and I'll show you why at the end. I'll just get a length on this. I'm going to actually risk it and cut it. I probably shouldn't. I might actually cut it slightly too long. Slightly too long. Normally I'd probably overhang it this way, but actually this shelf's a fixed shelf anyway, so I'm not going to be getting that out. So we just put that into place on the edge here. Make sure it's going to be overhanging each side. Do cupboards look like this in your country? Do you have the same sort of fittings and hinges and things as what we do here? I'm always sort of curious. I used to work in kitchen sales many years ago, one of my many jobs. However, it was a minimum wage job and I couldn't stay. You do yourself a disservice, I think, sometimes by staying. That feels good. I'm just going to let that cool a little bit. I next am going to fix up this door because I'll tighten it up anyway. I think it's just loose, so hopefully. And then that's this cupboard. Wow, one more shelf to go. And then that's this cupboard finished. So I will get on and I will do the bottom bit and I'll be right back. Right, so that's it finished. I did sand the top and bottom edge. I actually used this scraper. The blade on that was enough to actually take that off. But I'd say if it was any thicker, then it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, it's not the most perfect job, but it's better than it was. And I don't think anybody will kind of pick that up really. What else can I say about that? I did go over it with the iron again. If you're doing any longer runs, you may need to tape it as you heat it because it sort of tends to want to pop off. But it's not difficult. I think it's something that any home handyman or woman can accomplish. So I just tighten that hinge and that's that job complete. So this is the offending hinge just here, and it is quite low, so I'm just going to tighten all of them up. I'm not sure if I can do it one-handed. But I'll just give all of that a tighten. Just make sure that it's well anchored to the wall of the cabinet. And it is definitely moving around. I wonder if the hinge just needs to go in. I'll just slide it in. I can't do it with one hand, so I'll just move it over and then I'll come back to you. So I'm just, in case you're wondering, I'm just going to loosen this screw here and push it back and see if that fixes it. As you can see, without actually taking that bracket off the wall of the cabinet and straightening it up, it's got this continuous sag down, and I guess over the distance it's dropping down even more where the two doors come together. So I don't think I'm going to be able to completely repair this one, because I don't fancy the idea of trying to fill a hole and create a new one and having it still be strong enough to hold the weight of the door, because the door is quite heavy. So I think this is the best that I can get it for today, and I think I'm going to leave this video here and catch you next time in the next one. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up as always, and a subscribe if you're feeling generous. The next video, of course, will be our new weekly progress on our channel. I'm saying our channel, and I guess it's my channel, but I feel like you're all a part of it too. So we'll see you next time.